Hello, Patreon backers. As always, thank you for supporting us. Some of you have gotten a lot of extra behind-the-scenes videos lately as we do the office. Probably film another one tonight. So, we've got some good questions, and these, as always, post them on the Discord chat channel for AskGN if you have questions. Some will get included in the main episodes. We're shooting 3 total episodes today. Some will go here. So let's get straight into it. Before actually getting straight into it, if you have questions specific to the office that I can answer, obviously we're not revealing everything for security reasons, but if you have questions, just general questions, things you're curious about, whatever, or things specifically relating to content production, what we're going to change in the future, let me know. I'll try and get those in the next one and just make it like a dedicated thing. So first one's from Satoshi Nakamoto, yes, that one, who said, "Hey team, I was wondering if you guys have ever done any testing on products like this," and links to a basically just a small heatsink. So we actually have. I haven't done testing insofar as like comparing X versus Y with those, but I have done testing with those in use. And one example I can remember off the top of my head was, I think the Vega Frontier Edition. That's what it's called. Yeah, I think we put those kind of small like Arctic style aluminum heat sinks, just finned heat sinks on the MOSFETs. Actually, I'm pretty sure we did. And we did it again, I think, for the RX 480, or yeah, the 480 when it first came out. So they actually do work reasonably for just getting extra surface area. They're not great. Like there are a lot of different types of this product that you link to on Amazon. I don't know if we're gonna pop it up in editing, but it's basically just like a really small fin stack with pretty thick fins. And problem is there's not a lot of fin density, so not a ton of surface area. The fins that are there, they're more like just square stacks. They're pretty thick. So you're not really aiding that much in surface area, not as much as you could, but it's cheap. And for a small surface mount device that gets a little warm, but maybe not hot enough to warrant something better, they're fine. And as you still need a fan, but honestly, with a lot of the testing we've done, you're almost just like better off pointing a fan straight at the VRMs. It's less of a hassle to install, and it works every time. But that's not the most practical for like in a case. So I have tested those. They're fine for things where you're not pushing super hard, but you're pushing hard enough that you don't really feel comfortable just using like a hybrid modded card like we've done without any VRM cooling like we've sometimes done. So if you can't get a direct fan on it, yes, they help. And if you're not going crazy like we did with Vega 56 with the 400, well, whatever it was, 400 watts, yeah, we went way over power on that. If you're not going crazy, then they're fine. Next one, Boz said, "We all know how much time benchmarking and stability testing takes. Set up BIOS, reset, wait till Windows loads or crashes, repeat ad nauseam. Do you know any live USB Linux distros that can speed up this process? Is there a fast distro to test basic stuff like CPU and RAM if it's stable enough to boot Windows?" No, is the immediate answer. I actually don't test with any of those live tools. I'm sure they're out there. I did want to say, so motherboards are starting to build this into BIOS now. EVGA is the first I'm aware of where they've built in, it's in BIOS. You never have to leave BIOS. You don't have to exit. You just save and stay in BIOS. And it runs a built-in stability test, which is actually really exciting because I really hope, I don't know if they have patents or anything like that. I kind of doubt that's patentable, but who knows? People signing off on the patents don't really know a lot about technology. So I don't know if that's going to go to other motherboard vendors. If it's not IP, then like EVGA IP, then I certainly hope it would. It seems like the kind of feature that would get big in like ASUS ROG boards or something like that as well. And they've had some built-in overclock testing in the past, but EVGA is really cool though because it's basically a built-in Prime 95, more or less. And if it passes the built-in test, it'll pass Prime in Windows for the most part. And I think it does a couple other things too. It's got an OC robot that's actually not bad. But yeah, that's the main thing is they built in a stress testing thing in BIOS, which I'm really excited about. Because even that's way faster even than live distros like you're talking about. So if that gets popular, it's going to make my life so much easier. But no, unfortunately, I don't know live distros. If any of you happen to, in terms of like stress testing distros, post it in Discord and tag Boz and me, because I'm curious. But I haven't looked into it. I'm positive it exists, but I just want to say BIOS is getting that direction, so that's pretty exciting. Next one, Taliban Tim said, "Hi GN, what methodology or reasoning is behind the components in the case testing bench? Do you find them to be similar components that an average user might have? Something you've always used in tests and it was just sort of grandfathered in? What made you stick with those components?" Yes to both. The problem with testing accurately and building a lot of data, well, not even that. The problem with building a lot of data and trying to keep it accurate is that as you build more data, you lose more when you eventually migrate benches. So we hang on to a bench for thermals as long as we can because performance doesn't really matter. All that matters is that they're parts that generate heat and they haven't aged in a meaningful way. And these benches, even though they get service for years in our testing, ultimately it's going through less abuse than it's probably getting half of the abuse in terms of time versus the average user system, because it's not in use every single day. It's tested for a couple hours at a time, shut off for a week, whatever. So part of it is keeping the bench so that we can keep all the data and have comparative numbers. To refresh a bench is really expensive. It costs weeks of time, which obviously I pay for through staff or my own time. And that's expensive, and then to lose all that data just kind of sucks, because now you're forced to use whatever. We keep some of the keystone cases to work on if we think that they'll be important when we do refresh the components, but you're always going to lose some cases because we don't keep all of them because there's not enough space. So that's part of it. The other part of it is, yes, we try to pick things that we think are reasonable for an end user to have. It gets really challenging sometimes, like with our mini ITX bench. What we need to do is relegate that bench to just truly small form factor systems and then build a special bench for things that can fit big tower coolers, because it's not fair, otherwise not realistic, but we committed to one thing and then we learned from it, and it's still fine, it can be better, and we'll eventually get there. But that comes down to the same thing where it's expensive and difficult to replace parts. But yeah, it's data consistency and its accuracy to what we think a user would reasonably use. We try to avoid very good closed loop coolers and things like that, because the problem is you can get to a point where the cooler does so much of the work that it's sort of like carrying bad cases. And like if you use a liquid cooler, first of all, you have compatibility concerns suddenly. So now your test bench might not work with some of the cases. Like if we chose a 280, that's fairly ubiquitous right now, but it doesn't work in every case, and that would eliminate our testing from some cases. So we keep like a 150 tower cooler, smaller, because that'll fit in basically everything for ATX, and then do the rest from there. Next from muddymind. I've been wondering for some time about the personal life of YouTubers in general. The impression I get is that you go way over typical 40-hour week of work and barely take vacations. How the hell can you keep it up without reaching extreme exhaustion or burnout? Huge kudos for being able to deliver great content without fail. Thank you. So it's not just YouTubers, it's business owners, I think, in general. I'm sure people who work for companies do this too, but I can only speak for myself, really. So it was the same way before anyone considered us any kind of YouTuber. So it's just, even when I was just developing websites, freelance, same thing. It's a lot of work to run a business, and the problem is I might work for 6, 7, 8 hours with one team member, maybe back to back 6, 7, 8 hours with the other team member, and so there's 16 hours with I'm doing testing or work in between. Then I have time where I have to handle administrative tasks like figuring out travel, booking flights, booking shows, ad agreements, ad performance tracking, have to do like all the government basic stuff like filing forms, have to deal with taxes, have to do accounting, books, and all that stuff. So some of that stuff, obviously, we do hire out to professionals, but you can't always do it. Some, like, I'm not going to go into details on it, I guess, but there's some things that you keep in-house for reasons that frankly don't matter because we decided to do it. It makes no sense. So it's just, you finish the testing, and then there's the writing. And then after writing, there's filming. After filming, I have to go preview the video once or twice, make sure there's nothing incorrect in it if I can. And then after that, gotta start working on the next content immediately, and then still find somewhere to do all the administrative and financial stuff that keeps the business moving, and logistics, and managing team members and figuring out schedules, all that stuff. And you know, it'd be nice to say, well, hire a manager, but it doesn't really work that way. So it's just business in general, I think. Now, here's the thing. Going over 40 a week, I think, is different in my position than if I were to work for someone I don't know, I didn't have like a stake in the company for, didn't feel super excited about personally. Because it's a lot of work, and it's always work, but the work is fun, and I enjoy it, and it's like an RTS game to me, which was my home genre growing up. It's like, feels like managing all of your different units and resources, and figuring out how do I get more of resource X so I can get more of resource Y, or how do I manage these different tasks and complete them in the order that makes the most sense, and it's a lot of fun. And so even though it's technically a hell of a lot more hours than 2 full-time jobs some weeks, it's still, it's fun. So it's not like, I don't think it's the same level of stress that you might feel if you did 2 full-time jobs for other people with whom you have no stake in the business. So it's very different perspective. Burnout's not a concern for me. Exhaustion definitely happens. I'm right now because, like, I mean, this whole past week's been longer days than even normally because we're moving. So spending 12 hours there doing physical labor, spending time here trying to keep the videos going. So, I mean, it happens, but I do try pretty hard to space things out with biking whenever I can. So, like, I'll go ride, go spend 2 hours, 1 hour, whatever, just do session jumps over and over and over down the line. And that keeps my head clear. Going out to do downhill trips, stuff like that. We have footage of Whistler on the channel somewhere. So it helps keep sane, but they're not really vacations because it's like I'll drive 5 hours to go to a bike park on a weekend or something and then work there for maybe 4 to 6, sometimes 8 hours for the day, as opposed to doing like, 14 to 20. So it's fewer hours, but it's not 0 hours. It never really is. That's okay though. I enjoy it, and I think a lot of business owners would tell you the same. It's exciting, and I'm sure there's it's got to be some kind of addicting to do to I don't know. You just it's like an RTS again, where you're watching just the stats and trying to make them better, and that's the fun part. So it's a little different, I think. But if you're considering the job, one of the last patrons Ask GN videos, I talked about getting started with filming and how to overcome that fear of that some people have being in front of camera and stuff like that. But just be aware that you're giving up a lot, but you're getting a whole hell of a lot, and it's very rewarding as long as you really, really want it. And if you're not sure about it, you don't have to commit to that many hours. You don't have to do what we're doing. And clearly, there are plenty of people who have been really successful, especially outside of the hardware space, without investing their entire week into it. So you don't have to do it this way. It's just the way that I chose to do it. So I don't know. Hopefully that gives you some insight. I think that's the last one I had. Or was there another one? No, there's one more. Honey Tree Evil Eye says, "Hey Steve, I recently purchased a Gigabyte 1080 Ti from Newegg. I got an email reminder about buying the Newegg warranty for $70. What are your thoughts on extended warranties, and are OEM warranties sufficient?" Some OEM warranties are. Sometimes they really suck. I hate dealing with warranties. If it's anything that's under, I don't know, $100, if it breaks, even within warranty, I'll probably just buy another one or one of the competing ones, because dealing with the warranty is so much effort. You gotta, it depends on the company, but if there's a prospect of sitting on the phone for an hour, screw that. I'll just buy another one. Because it's not just, I don't know, it's just stress that you don't really need. So yeah, I don't know. Newegg's warranty, I will say I pay for the extended warranties on super expensive stuff, like our camera that we definitely need. So I'll get accidental damage policies on those, because we travel, there's a really good chance that it gets dropped and damaged, and so we can hopefully use it there. So I would only get the extended warranties if you think there's a chance of something happening, that's not related to the hardware failure, or to hardware fail. That's more related to you. So accidental damage is a good example. But I mean, hardware failure, stuff's going to fail eventually. It's not impervious, but once you get past kind of the 3-month period, there's a good chance it just hangs on until you retire it from other reasons. So I would not spend the $70 in that instance. I'd go with the manufacturer warranty. You'll be covered for long enough that by the time it's out, like a lot of them they're between 1 and 5 years, but a lot of them are 3 years these days. By the time it's out, you won't care quite as much. It'll still suck to lose what was an $800 card, but yeah, I don't know. I would not pay $70 for it. I'll leave it there, I guess. So that's the last one for patrons AskGN. Bit worn out for this one, but I'm giving it my all right now. So check back soon. We'll have the behind the scenes videos and more for The Office. Very exciting stuff. Looking forward to it greatly. And as always, leave your questions in the Discord. Thank you for supporting us on Patreon. I'll see you all next time.